Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Matt, or Cryptic if you prefer. If it's your first time on my channel, welcome on in. I hope you are doing well. And today we're back with another tutorial series. If you're familiar with my last tutorial series, we made a fan. It was a little bit more of a complex project series, and so I wanted to do something a little bit different for those of you who are still trying to get into modeling within Maya and working with applications like Substance Painter. I'm going to introduce a new application into this whole thing called PureRef that I feel like a lot of people should know about because I just learned about it recently and I absolutely love it. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I ran a poll about a week ago asking people what they wanted to learn how to model. So what we decided, or what they decided, was that they wanted to learn how to model a Crescent Wrench. Which, if you don't know what a Crescent Wrench is, it's one of the wrenches with the little twisty knob that allows you to adjust the size of the Crescent Wrench. So it is in turn a little bit more of a complicated model, but it introduces some concepts that some people may be super stressed about trying to figure out how to do. So this is going to be a really good series to go through that. I do want to start this off with saying we will not be focusing on Maya-based materials this time around. We are going to be focusing solely on Substance Painter materials for this tutorial. I will have tutorials in the future that focus more on Maya-based materials, but right now I'm working with Substance Painter for this set of videos. If you don't have Substance Painter, you can find a way around it. You can see if you can do a free trial, or you can just try to make the textures however you would like to normally. Just make sure you're generating some of the same maps. But with all that said, go ahead and make sure that you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you don't miss one of these tutorials, and we're going to start diving into this. Okay, so first things first, you're going to want the reference material. The reference material is provided in a link in the description down below. We're going to pull this up real quick, and we're going to go ahead and download it. We'll go through the whole process together. Going to download this. Okay, so we've downloaded our reference images. If you go in here, there should be 8 images. These are 8 detail images that I took a picture of a wrench that I own that we'll be working off of. If you want a physical model, you're more than welcome to go to Harbor Freight and grab the same wrench. That's where I got mine. But for all intents and purposes, these images should be perfect for you. So what do we want to do? We want to start this off right. We want to use PureRef to set up a reference grid. I don't want to set that up though until I have my Maya scene set up. So we're going to go ahead and launch Maya. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our project. The most important thing when you're starting one of these projects is to actually set your project up. So if you haven't done this process before, it's really easy. We're going to go to File, go down to Project Window, and then we're going to go New, change the folder, and I'm going to put this where I normally put my other stuff, so don't worry about that. Put it wherever you're comfortable with putting it. We're going to title this Crescent Wrench Tutorial, and we're going to hit Accept. Now, if you browse to that folder, there's our new folder. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, open up our folder. All right, in our images folder, we're going to take our reference and we're going to copy it, place it in here. For now, go ahead and minimize Maya. If you haven't already installed PureRef, go ahead and go to the link in the description to download PureRef. You can either pay for it or try it for free. But since I already have it installed, we'll go ahead and launch it. PureRef is a really cool, simple application that just allows you to set up a grid of, so you can access your reference at any time that you need. So what we're going to do is we will just drag this chunk of images over. PureRef is automatically going to just kind of throw them all over the place, and then it'll organize it for you. So what I like to do is give myself a little bit of room here so we can see everything we need to see. When we're looking at this, primarily what we're going to be focusing on is this guy. So we're going to be using this image right here. This is going to be kind of our side reference. We have every single piece of reference that we need here. We have a nice side view, we have a top view, we have a bottom view. Each one of these is going to be important. So go ahead, go to Save, Save As, and then browse to your folder that you just created. And then I'll generally just put this in scenes. You don't have to, you can put it in your images folder, but I'm just gonna put it in my scenes folder just because that's where I want everything to live. Let's see, we'll do wrench underscore reference. Perfect. Save. All right, so now PureRef can live on your other monitor. You can keep it minimized, whatever you want. Those images are there and they're ready to use. Let's go ahead and open Maya back up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to import our image into Maya so we have a nice base to work off of. We're going to be doing our blocking for this video, so it's important to actually get some reference in here. So we're going to create free image plane. And then you're going to hit your attribute editor. We're going to change this to the image. We want image number 1. We will open up image number 1, and there we go. It's a nice high resolution image to work off of, and we will just kind of set this up the way we want to. Okay, cool. So there we have it. Nice image. I'm going to go to File, Save Scene As. And then I recommend saving it as a Maya ASCII. It's easier to recover if you lose something. Wrench _ blocking. Save. Okay. So when we're looking at this, we want to figure out what we need to do, what we need to start with. I'm thinking what I want to do is look at what is this object comprised of. So if I open PureRef again, drag this over here. We're going to look at one of these heads here, one of the head images. So we have 3 parts to this thing. It's actually very simple. There's technically 4, but we're really not going to worry about modeling the 4th part. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So we're going to draw. So the first part is this guy. This piece sits inside, kind of like this. So there is a portion that goes inside the wrench that we want to make sure we model, because if this is to be a functional model, it needs to be in there. Second part is our turn wheel. This is what's used to shift this piece up and down. It's just another mechanical feature. Third piece, obviously, being the entire body of the wrench. And the 4th piece, which we're not going to model again, there is a rivet or a pin that's inside this center portion that we're really not going to worry about, because it's not seen. It's not part of the actual outside portion of the wrench. So we're not really going to worry about it. What I want to do then is just start off and block out the body. So we're going to go into our side view. We're going to create a cube. Yes. Let's see. We'll go to our settings here. We go polycube. We're going to change these subdivisions to 2, to 2, to 2. That's good. Perfect. We like that. So we've got our polycube. I'm going to turn off shaded because I don't want to deal with it right now. I'm going to turn on our vertex, and I'm just going to drag these out to where I want pieces to lie. I'm going to try to kind of keep it within there. Okay, so in looking at this, we have a lot of curvature going on. So what we want to do is add some edge loops. So we're going to go to Mesh Tool, Insert Edge Loop. We're going to add one here, one here, one here, and then one here. This gives us a little bit more geometry to work with. And once we go back to vertex mode, we're going to just drag these out and start shaping the wrench. Make sure here you're just trying to follow the silhouette of the wrench. We're not super concerned about it being hyper accurate. We just want to make sure we're getting a good result out of it. We'll take this center point and just drag it there a little bit. So you can see how we're starting to match the shape of the wrench. Do the same thing up here. And then this is where it gets a little bit complicated because there's a lot more going on up here. So we're going to go back to our mesh tools. We're going to go to Insert Edge Loop tool. All right, we're going to go back to Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. We're going to keep adding geometry to this. So we know we need a piece right about there. I'm thinking right there, probably right there, and right there. This may not be everything that we need, but we're going to get there. Vertex. So again, we're just adjusting. We're just adjusting these to get the shaping right. I know blocking seems like a useless step in the process, but it's actually very important. So this guy, I want to live right up here because we're gonna have to make some interesting changes around here. Okay, same thing here. We're gonna stop it right in the middle there, and I'm gonna readjust that a little bit. Just to straighten this out a bit. Okay. But the issue now is how do we create this tooth that sticks out? So we can see kind of right here is where the tooth itself starts to extrude from the body. So what we're going to do is we're going to use what we have. We're going to take this, move the center line up. We're going to do the same thing around here. We're going to try to kind of follow the center portion of this. And then I'm going to kind of start mapping out this area just because like we are going to have to add stuff to it. So we will start doing this because there will be additional edge loops that get added through. We're just going to follow the basic shape of this object. This will save us a lot of headache in the future. Okay. Pull this that way. That way we've already kind of got this set up here. Okay, cool. So what does that give us? That gives us a new face that we can extrude. So we can go face and select just this guy. We can extrude. So we're going to extrude to here. Extrude here, and I'm just hitting the G key to repeat the action. And then we're going to continue shaping. So we'll grab these verts. And this image is slightly bent, or it's slightly kind of in the wrong direction. So feel free to just get it as straight as you possibly can. You can see how there's like, I wasn't directly over the wrench itself. So there's a tad bit of a shift to it. So if we go back into our main view, there we go. Look at that. Scale it a little bit, pull it out, scale a little bit more, probably right there. All right, so there's the body of our wrench. That's exactly what we're going to start working with right now. Cool. So the next piece we need to do is we need to build this chunk. So for that one, and then we're going to get ahead of ourselves here. We're actually going to rename our stuff. So this P cube is going to be wrench underscore body. Again, this is a very simple object, so we don't really have to stress too much about anything. We're just building it out and setting things up. All right. We're going to drag our new cube over here. That's all I did again is I just created a new cube. Going to adjust it by changing 2, 2, and 2. I just like doing this because it gives me a little bit more geometry to work with. And then let's go ahead and start shaping what we have. Making sure we're not creating any weird pinches or anything like that. Now, you'll notice there is this dip in here. We're not going to worry about that dip right now. We are going to add it later, but right now it's not a main focus. Okay. So we're going to go into our viewport now. We're going to look at this. So if I pull this out, it's currently way too thick. We want it to be the same size. Okay. Let's get in there. All right, cool. So we're going to go ahead and select our image and this little tooth piece and hit Shift I to isolate. And we're going to extrude a little bit here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab these faces. We're going to go back to our modeling toolkit and we're going to hit extrude. What I want to do is I want to scale this inwards a little bit. This is probably something we're going to end up fixing and changing later, but this is going to give us a good little block out that we need. And then from here, I'll go back into my side view and I'm going to hit G again to repeat the tool, and I'm going to extrude it out. So we know it stops right about there. We're going to go to vertex. We're going to adjust this a little bit. Give ourselves a little bit of working room here. Okay, that should be good. So let's take a look at that, see how that looks. That's perfect, we like that. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to extrude another piece. This time, we're going to extrude out I'm going to scale it. I'm going to hit this center to object, scale it out, do another G, pull it out again. Same thing to kind of create that piece that we're looking at, because these are eventually going to be teeth. So we want to make sure that we're modeling that, referencing that properly. Okay, so the next thing is we'll take this guy. We're going to extrude this up. And we'll stop this right about here because this should be fully open. Yeah, and when it's closed, it should kind of stop right at the top, flush with the body. And we'll test that when we actually build this. Go ahead and hit Shift-I again, and one more time. Just click off of whatever you have selected. That way we get back into where we are. Okay, cool. There we go. So there's that. So the other thing that we need to start doing is looking at some of the more advanced shapes on this object. So we're going to tackle the rear portion of the handle first. So we're going to go back into our side view. And initially I did this, I kind of moved this around, but looking at it again, I kind of want to change that. I'm going to go back, drag this to the center. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to try to just keep this nice and leveled out. I think mesh tools, we're going to add one edge loop right about here at the edge, just so we don't lose that shaping. And we're going to go mesh tools, insert edge loop. We're going to add our supporting edge loop here, so we have the same sort of geometry that we're working with here. So the goal here, what we're trying to do right now is create this hole. So with doing that, what we're going to want is we're going to go mesh tools, insert edge loop. We're going to create a center point. This creates a quad. We have a four-face object. So what we're going to do with this is look at our topology right now, and we can tell we've got some messy topology. So what we want to do is we're going to rethink this a little bit. One of the things that I always encourage people to do is really look in the beginning at your topology and just try to make sure you're matching it across the object. Make sure you're paying attention to it, because if you don't pay attention to it in the beginning, it's going to screw you over in the end. And as artists, that's the last thing we want to deal with. So we're looking at this. So we have these two faces. I want to divide that one more time. We're going to add one more edge loop. And that's going to give us that quad that we want. We're going to select these faces. And we're going to do an extrude. Pull them in. We're going to go to Edit Mesh and Circularize. It's going to give us that nice circle. And then I'll go into my side view and just correct it to make sure it's flowing a little bit better. So the issue that we have here now is that we've got kind of like a pinch of geometry. So we need to kind of correct that a little bit. So we want our hole to be right about there. So what we want is to just take these verts and just kind of move them out of the way, give ourselves the space that we need, and then correct some of these other ones that are no longer flowing properly. We'll move this guy inwards, that guy, and this guy. Should be the same piece. Okay. So let's look and see what we got. So we have our hole. So we want to make sure that we're still matching this up. We're kind of not, because if you look at the top, we're much thinner on the top than we are the bottom. So we were kind of operating off the fact that it was slanted slightly. So we're just going to try to even this out a little bit more. Okay, so we're looking okay. I just want to level out this geometry a little bit because it's looking a little rough. So we want to clean that up a bit. Okay. All right, that's better looking. So you can see that in doing all this, we kind of created a bit of a lump. We want to fix that before we do anything else with it. So we'll go ahead and hit this, just scale it. Same thing here, scale it. And then we'll just take that and scale it back into place. That way we get rid of that lump, we don't have any unsightly geometry, and we can continue working with this. Okay, so we have both of our holes selected. We're going to extrude them inwards. and then just extrude them about halfway and then delete. You're going to take these edges that you have, go ahead and hit the merge polygon tool on either your modeling toolkit or up here on the shelf, and then change the tolerance. Sometimes that doesn't work depending on how close you are. You can just come in here with a target weld and just grab it and snap it together. But otherwise, we're good there. So we did some reshaping back here. We need to do some reshaping along the body real quick just to kind of clean things up a bit. So let's go ahead and just do that real quick. We'll just try to correct the form a little bit. Okay. Overall, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to give a little bit more depth down here. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. And when we smooth that, you'll see it turns into basically a perfect circle. So we're good there. All right, so the next thing we want to look at is the indent in the actual body itself. So we've got this thing. Uniquely, as we've been adding edge loops, because we did that pre-shaping, we're already almost there. So we're going to grab these verts. We're going to reshape them. We're just going to mimic this hole that we have going on here. Miso! And we're going to go back to our perspective view. So initially what we're going to do is we're just going to pull these in. There will be some geometry rebuilding that we're going to have to do because of this, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. This is just our block out phase, so we're not super stressed about it. All right, so go ahead and extrude that in. And you can see that because of the way we place this, we already have our piece coming through here, which is awesome. So select these edges. Make sure I actually got them. I don't know if I did. I don't think I did. There we go. We're going to do the same thing, just merge them. We'll do smooth just to make sure it's good. It is good. So we have our hole. Let's look at it and make sure that we're pretty good. I think we're okay. We will build some of this geometry in because we're going to be modeling out this little shaft here. But we're good there. Okay, so the next thing is we got to add our cylinder in here. So that is going to be a little bit different. We're going to add it from the top. Carry it over here. I'm going to try to line it up here as best we can. Now this does stick out of the wrench, so don't be afraid if it looks funky. Just want to get that shaped properly. And we're looking okay. The only issue is that our geometry isn't really flowing properly to it, so let's just fix that up a bit. Close it in. And then we can kind of fix a little bit more of this in perspective view. Keep in mind, this does have like teeth we're not modeling right now. Okay. All right. So there we have it. Go ahead and hit save. Save scene. And that's it for this video. You've successfully set up your PureRef, you've set up your Miocene, and you've blocked out your wrench. The next video, we're going to go into adding more detail and starting to model out the main portion of the wrench. We're going to try to keep these tutorials as short as possible. That way you get as much information out of as little time dedication as possible. I do want to encourage you to practice some of this stuff outside of these tutorials. Tutorials are great because they do help you learn, but in the end, you will only learn as much as you experiment with. So if you're not actually using these and practicing these skills outside of these tutorials, they're only going to get you so far. So I do want to encourage you to finish the tutorial, get a beautiful image out of it for your portfolio. But at the same time, I also want to make sure that you guys are looking at this and deciding, this is what I need to practice outside of these tutorials. And this is how I can use this in my own workflows, because that is the goal of what I'm trying to teach here. If you guys like what you saw, please make sure you like the stream. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you follow. That way you don't miss another tutorial video. I'm going to get these out faster than the fan series because it's a much simpler object and we don't have to spend a lot of time modeling it. So be sure that you're keeping an eye on YouTube so you can make sure you don't miss a video. That's it for today, and I will see you guys all in the next one.